And I remember a country was trying to figure out where it was at. A Kenyan in this country was trying to figure out where he was at. Nick and Monica were trying to figure out where they were at. Everything was all just so strange. Like, what's going on? So in January, I was like, man, we're done, you know, this is not working. I'm gonna try and be an actor again. Nick, meanwhile, was trying to get his acting off the ground, and he was enjoying a little level of success, getting a couple of roles that we went to watch him in theater.
Oh, the name's Max Slaughter, dude. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, najua.
Na unafanya kazi gani bwana Max Slaughter hapa nchini?
Well, here in Kenya, mimi ni mwalimu, lakini I work for the Peace Corps.
Peace Corps.
But here, hapa mimi ni mwalimu, hapa Kajongo Primary, Kajiado.
Na eleza koti mnamo tarehe 7. Ni kitu gani tokea kuhusu kesi hii?
Sorry.
Tarehe 7 mwezi uliopita.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember that, dude. Okay, ilikuwa mwanafunzi mwingine anaitwa Janet Alexander.
Ndio.
Ni mwerevu sana. Na ilikuwa kama masiku 3 hivi na haja kwenda class. Na huyu haja hata sana madarasa.
Ndio.
Yeah, kwa sababu yeye ni she's really bright, dude. Mwerevu sana.
Ndio.
So nilimuuliza wanafunzi wengine, Janet ako wapi? Janet uko wapi? Waliniambia that she had some problems at home, kama wazazi wake walitaka kumpeleka kwa mwanaume mzee na mwingine kama bibi.
Aolewe.
Na sifikiri kwa sababu waliniambia.
And he said, this is the process. You take your headshots, you attach those to a resume, and you go to any audition that you can. And the thing that works in America a little bit different is there you don't just show up for an audition. You hand in your headshot and your resume. So you take your headshot, which is a picture A4 size or letter size, and then you attach it to a paper back to back so that you glue or you staple your picture to the back of your CV. And then you go into an audition and you hand it out. Actually, it's possible I have Nick's.
This is why I like Mugambi, guys.
Yeah, here's Nick's headshot. This is his headshot.
We'll sit down there and zoom in with this thing.
So this is how it works. This is Nick's headshot. This is my friend Nick. I think he regrets taking this headshot because there was too much expression on it. You actually need to be a little bit neutral on your picture. And then on the back of it is his resume.
What?
Yeah. So this is how you did. Before you were considered for any audition, you handed in your headshot and your resume, attached back to back. This is a standard. Yeah. So
how crazy is that you have the headshot?
Yeah, it's because he gave it to me as an example. And he was actually quite pedantic about everything. So he also had this little bit of, this, I'm telling you, is a level that you go to as a struggling actor. He even went and added this. And he took a bunch of pictures, all of him, and he assigned a character to each and every one of them.
That is so cool.
Yeah. But even with this, you'll still struggle to find the work, man. Oh, man. Oh, my God. I'm actually going to take a picture of this and send it to him.
That is insane.
Yep. So that was the case. So I went and I took my... Hold on. So I took my headshots. You know, you had to save money to do that. But it was the middle of the winter. And what they don't tell you about winter is that your skin will look amazing in the middle of winter. That cold air gongas it. I don't know what it does to your skin. Your skin looks good. So it's all yellow and...
Chiles go to stay in the winter like crazy.
Oh no, but yo, it works for real. Winter does a lot. I'll even show you that picture I took of the headshot. I'll send it to you. So I took my headshot and I put together a resume and I was like, I'm gonna try. I'll just give it a shot. What else can I do, man? I'll try and be an actor in Philly. And how you did it in Philly, first you got onto networks that told you where auditions were happening. And remember how I said the first thing you do is you hand in that resume and you hand in the headshot, and then you get called for an audition based on whether on your resume
and
or
you
your
hand
headshot.
in the headshot to the network.
Yeah, to the casting agent, to the network, to the playhouse, wherever it is that you're going for an audition. You hand it in or you send it on soft copy, and then afterwards they will get in touch with you.
Okay, okay.
And
to come for an audition.
To come for an audition. Now you are eligible for an audition.
Wow.
Not for a role, an audition.
Yeah.
So already getting an audition is a little victory on its own.
Yeah.
And so we
means that
celebrate and be like, I got an audition. It doesn't matter whether you get the role. We didn't rejoice about roles. Roles were good, but you rejoiced about the audition first, and then went in knowing whatever happens from here, it is not me, it is the Lord. This is out of my hands. So that happened a lot, and I ended up in January of 2009 getting my first role as an extra.
Hold on, now you've gotten a role.
As an extra. It was like an extra in a Bollywood film that was never made. It never got out. It was a Bollywood film, a high-budget Bollywood film that also had to film partly in Philly. And Philly was the city in America that they were going to film in. And I played the role of someone walking on the street as a chase was going. Because he needed to make cars look fast in movies. This is a trick I learned. To make it look from inside that a car is moving really fast, you have a bunch of extras outside walking in the opposite direction from the car. So the illusion is that the car is moving really quickly because everyone is walking in that direction. Usually you don't have people walking in the direction the car is going. Look out for that the next time you watch a big budget film.
So a car is coming this way, you're walking.
And I'm walking this way. Okay. And that's all I did. Just walked up and down in the middle of the winter. Over and over again. It was rough. And I remember we had to be on set at 5:30 in the morning or 6 in the morning, and buses don't start moving then. And Nick had to help me out, and he lent me his bike so that we could I could bike to a place where the bus routes were working, and then I had to attach the bike to the front of the bus and then go to another place and then get off and then ride the rest of the way. For one day of shooting that was gonna pay like $75, I think. But I needed the money, man. I really needed the money. So you did it. You just did it. You showed up, and I woke up early in the morning, probably at 4 in the morning, got up, and I was on set by the specified 5:30, 6, had breakfast, and then just walked up and down the street. Up and down the street. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I was the shit. In Nairobi. And now here I am walking up and down the street. Oh gosh. Oh jeez. But then the check came in. We found out that the film had really overshot its budget, so they could never really finish the film, and the film was never finished. But what do? You put that on your resume. And then you go for another audition and another audition, or you hand in your thing again and again and again and again and again and again, and I did it over and over again. The next role I landed was in a small community theater play it was a fictional play, of course, about the zombie apocalypse happening in Shakespearean time when Shakespeare was writing, was it King Richard IV? I can't remember, one of his famous plays. Now, the playwright of this film was actually pretty clever, because people who are going to theater school then would really study Shakespeare. Really study. This guy was a huge fan of Shakespeare. And this young guy, he was in his probably mid-30s, wrote this play because he realized that the tone of Shakespeare's work really changed between the play and Richard IV, and I can't remember if it was Richard IV, but all the works before that and Richard IV going forward was such a huge shift. and his work became darker and more melancholic, and it was like he had gone through a traumatic experience. And he imagined to himself, what if that traumatic experience was a zombie apocalypse upon the Globe Theatre while he was in the middle of rehearsing for this next play? So this play was called Shakespeare's Land of the Dead. And I played the role of a soldier who's there to protect the Queen. And we show up, and Shakespeare's playhouse is the only safe place, because the way a theater is built, zombies can't infiltrate it too quickly. It was a pretty clever play. I had the role of soldier number 2, and I'm like, cheers, man. I had like 2 lines of dialogue. Cheers. Are we getting paid at the end of this? Depends on our ticket earnings. Okay, something to put on my resume. Let's do it. We rehearsed for about 6 weeks, put it on over the course of 2 weekends. This play was a hit. A hit. Zombies and Shakespeare. A hit. We had sold out Ninis pretty much from, I think it ran for 3 weeks. Yeah, from the week 2, it was pretty much sold out shows. People loved the show. So the play made a little bit of money. I think we got paid $100, $80, I think. I can't remember.
For that whole time?
It was community theater, so we were going in not even expecting to be paid. Okay. Because the name of community theater is that all the funding comes from ticket sales. I get nothing else. No one else is, and they have to pay for the rights, they have to pay for the venue, they have to pay for costumes. So the actors' wages are the ones that end up being the last thing. We got paid something between $100 and $200, which was a lot of money for this theater. And soon I started discovering that there was a bit of a theater community in Philly, and started making a few friends, and spring started rolling around, and it wasn't too bad. And all the way up to the summer and into early fall.
What are you doing? Acting?
Acting. Doing whatever I can, finding whatever role I can. But of course it was hard. And I still needed to make money. And as much as Nick and Monica were not putting any pressure on me to pay rent, I was like, I really need to help you guys out, because you guys are struggling as well. And everyone was out there just looking for work. So a breakthrough happened in the summer. I remember I was about to give up, and then in the spring.
Did you decide to flip burgers at any moment?
I came this close to. But you see, the thing is, you have a social security number. And you have, and attached to your social security number is the information that you went to school to study advertising. And the system doesn't care if you're in the middle of a recession. If you're now ending up in doing work in the US that's not related to your area of study, it can be problematic. But by the time summer was rolling around, I was going to work at a Turkish restaurant. Was it Turkish or Iranian? And I was going to be a waiter. I was going to be waiting staff. And I was going to be paid under the table, just so that, everything remained anonymous.
Yeah. AKA cash.
Cash, yeah, I was going to be paid cash, so that everything, I came this close. And then the person who was going to be my my link to get into that job got fired. So suddenly this restaurant needed 2 people, and I couldn't go there and say, hey, I want a job, because this other dude was like, fuck that place, don't even go and work there. And I was like, you're my friend, so I guess I'm gonna have to listen to you, dude. Man, so things were thick, man. I mean, I'm still applying for jobs at this point and still getting turned down.
So you're applying for the advertising jobs?
Yes.
That you can turn down. You're doing the headshot acting. You're
handing in headshots and waiting to get called.
And you're getting 1 or 2 for that.
Yeah, it wasn't much. Everyone was, and again, even theatre was affected. So I would do odd little jobs. There was one job where I was house manager at a theatre, and house manager means it was a rental theatre. It was like KNT. So if I was working at KNT and someone was renting the KNT premises, I was given a brief about this is the this is the gig they're doing, and then I'd be there to receive them. Welcome to the Painted Bride. I'm the house manager. What do you need? This is the ticketing place. If you want to move it there, I can do that for you. This is where the cleaning supplies are. If you need anything from me, I'm on the grounds, just talk to me. So people would come and ask me questions and then I'd help them out.
Okay, dude, let me say this, huh? Again, I don't know what I think God put something in me to always just see the end picture. What can an actor tell you right now? You've experienced it all. In terms, no, in terms of you being the director of this movie, when an extra comes to complain to you, you can be like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand.
I was there.
You know, you've been...
I was walking up on the street in the dead of
you
winter.
yourself can have empathy or understanding for extras because you've been there.
Yeah. Absolutely. To the point where I know they're not called extras anymore. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to learn the vocabulary with the background actors because extra is a bit of a demeaning term. I learned this a year ago. But yes,
dude.
You've been there. Oh yeah, hold on. There's one breakthrough I forgot to mention.
No, we are definitely getting there. I'm just blown away by your story. Dude, you are... Not only were you an extra, but then you did odd jobs within the theatrical world.
Yeah. I was working at two
the biggest
theater.
Industry in the world.
How do you call it that?
No, what I mean, what market is bigger than America when it comes to film?
Yeah. Philly was a much smaller market.
No, but I'm talking about America as a whole.
Yeah.
You know the way guys say, I'm going to America to become Lupita Nyong'o?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
But did you meet Lupita Nyong'o when you were there?
I have a story about that.
you blame me.
I have a story about that.
Okay, go on with your
story.
So
what was happening was Philly was, I wasn't working in film as much. Philly was a small market, but it had a really thriving theater sector. So I was working at two theaters, two small odd jobs where I was house manager. So a house manager in one, and then the other one was a high class theater where they would be like, we can't pay you, but we know you can't afford the ticket. So come and work one day and then come watch the show another day. So your earnings are a ticket to watch the show. And I was like, I want to watch quality theater, so I'll do it. So I was going, every time they had a show, I'd send an email saying, I'm available on this day to watch. I'm available to work on this day and watch on this day. And I ended up watching some really, really good theater as a result of that. And that's really much, my story is not unique at all. This is how every actor in Philly was trying to get around.
It's also the way a lot of Kenyans live abroad.
It is. If they decide that they're going to be an engineer, for instance, they probably get a lot of odd jobs in that sector. I was lucky enough to get jobs in that sector. Before
the breakthrough. I mean, so this recession wasn't just happening in the theater. In the theater world.
Across.
It was across.
In fact, I was doing better
than a lot of people.
In theater than a lot of people were doing in their sectors, as much as it wasn't paying much. Perhaps the best job I got was... Okay, so
this is not the breakthrough story.
It's I wouldn't call it a breakthrough. It was just a good job.
Okay.
Yeah, because it really didn't lead to anything else.
Okay.
But what we did at that point, when you said I want to be an actor, you attended what was called cattle calls. So there were 2 or 3 big casting agencies in Philly, and what they did was every month, on a certain Monday of every month, they would open up to do an open casting call. That was the nice name, but the more industry name was cattle call, meaning even if a ngombe walks in, it's like herding ngombes, but even if a ngombe walked in, you'd cast it, like you'd do it. So what you did was that you prepared a monologue. Again, you came with your headshot and resume, then you prepared a monologue, you shot the monologue, and then they had you in their bank. So because I was African, that was an advantage, but also a disadvantage. The disadvantage obviously is that you're African. So you're not African American, you're African. Being African American it's already hard to get work. But I'm going in with this accent of mine.
I don't know what you are telling me.
Yeah, and it's this strange accent. I can't place it. Who are you? If this story is someone who was born in Iowa in 1976, why do you sound like this? I couldn't afford the services of a dialect coach. So again, I was like, whatever job I can get, I'll get. The first job I got as a result of that cattle call was an email. I remember an email saying, we're shooting a film. This is the name of the director, and we're looking for actors to play background roles of district attorneys in a law firm. If you're available, say what days you're available, and then we'll show you what days. And because it was a big film, this was a Hollywood film, it was being shot over the course of a month and a half, I think. And while they were shooting in Philly, they were going to be hiring a lot of background actors. And how you do it is that every background actor is assigned their days. So you're assigned your days, and then you're assigned a link to an intranet. And the internet is password protected, meaning you only access this website unless you have the password. And that website, the password is updated every day. And so only people with the password would know where the location is and what they needed to come dressed in. It's a really good system.
Yeah.
And then once you typed in your password, you came and you're like, come dressed like this, be at this place by this point. So fortunately now I was able to get there by train, or sometimes because I had a driver's license by this point, I could borrow my roommate's car, and they'd take you, there was no Google Maps at this point. Smartphones were still really not a thing. So you went, and what you did was you went to Google Maps and you wrote the directions down, or you sent a text with the address to Google, and they sent you a text with all the directions on it. So it would be like a text with 3 threads telling you this is how you get to that place. And I was on that set for 3 days. And that is when I discovered that the director of this film, the film was called Law Abiding Citizen. The director was F. Gary Gray. He's done Straight Outta Compton, he's done Friday, he's done Set It Off.
Is it on Fast On?
He did Fast and Furious. No, that's John Singleton. Okay. Yeah. And the stars of the film were Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler. And I was like, this is pretty cool. But because they know how the tendency of actors to be in front of celebrities, part of the instructions you were given on this intranet was any attempt to get in touch or try to speak to any of the actors will result in you getting fired immediately. So you can't go up to them, you can't solicit for anything. You can't ask for handshakes, you can't ask for autographs, you can't ask for hugs, you can't ask for pictures, you can't. That's grounds for dismissal immediately. Yeah. You only speak to them if they speak to you. You don't try and maintain eye contact or try and do these things to get their attention. And you in no way try in any way get in their way while they are acting. Because if I distract Jamie, and Jamie is like, oh see, I'm calling him by his first name. If I distract Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx is like, this dude is messing up my Nini, not only will I be fired from this gig, but I'll probably not be able to get any other gig because I'll be known as that troublesome actor who tried to...
You'll be blacklisted.
Yeah, you pretty much get blacklisted. So I was on the set of Law Abiding Citizen for 3 days. And during those 3 days, I got to watch Jamie act a little bit. I got to see Gerard Butler, got to see him, not meet him, but just see him. And the most I got out of Jamie Foxx was, what's up? We're in the room, and in between, Jamie Foxx is an entertainer for sure. He likes singing in between takes. He sings all the time. He's very, very confident, very funny. He likes to do impressions. He likes to make people laugh. That's how he keeps the energy moving. He's not insular. Other actors would be about, like, in between takes, they'll keep quiet, or they'll go and sit somewhere, or their assistant will come and, would you like some coffee, some water? Would you like something, you know? All right, there's your green room. Just sit in there, just wait. But Jamie would just stay with us in the room and he'd do impressions of people or tell us stories or sing for us. It was wonderful.
What?
Yeah.
That
pretty
is
cool
too
guy.
cool. And how many guys are you in the room at this moment?
20 maybe. 20 maybe. Yeah, probably. And he'd ask questions. He'd make conversation. But again, you can't speak to him unless he speaks to you first. Yeah. So he'd have to ask you a question for you to talk back.
Yeah.
And then that's when he would sort of invite you to have a conversation with him. And some people had conversations with him and some didn't. Then On another day of shooting,
you didn't have a line, eh?
No lines.
Your background.
No, you're just background the whole time. And he cracked a joke, and I remember laughing, and he looked at me and he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Hey," and I was like, "That's pretty cool." And then the director, F. Gary Gray, we had a very brief conversation. He was like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Mugambi." And he's like, "Where you from?" And I'm like, "I'm from Kenya." And I was like, "How'd you end up here?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know, recession, I was looking for work and I don't, so I did acting on the side and here I am." And he's like, cool. And that was it. Gerard Butler, the only thing he said was sorry to me, because again, we're being very, very respectful of his space, and the sitting area for crew was downstairs and the shooting area was 3 floors up. So all of us would have to be herded because they had people taking care of the extras, making sure we don't go anywhere and end up where we're not supposed to be. And we'd be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, please come with me. And then we'd wait. If there was no crew and no stars in the elevator, then we could enter the elevator. So the director and Gerard Butler are talking. And I'm listening to Gerard Butler as he's talking, and I think it was the first AD, the first assistant director, asking him, "Yo, Mr. Butler, you know, is there anything you want to do? You know, you're here, you've got time to kill. Is there anything you want to do?" And he says like, no, I'm here waiting for my dialect coach, you know, because he has that drawl, that accent. And I'm like, yo, Gerard Butler actually sounds like he does on 300, was it? No, anyway, he has this Scottish, Irish, I can't remember where he's from, he's Scotsman. So I'm listening to him talk in his natural accent, talking about how he's waiting for his dialect coach. And it was so interesting that this guy is playing the role of an American, and yeah, he is in his very natural Scotsman. And Gerard Butler is tall, and he can pass you, like you'd not notice him if he's dressed up in usual. I thought he was a crew member, but then when I see him talking to the director, I'm like, this guy seems to be talking to the director a lot. And then when we got to the elevator, all the extras stopped because we know we can't get into the elevator with the director and one of the leads. So we stood there, and they were sort of blocking the way of the elevator, and the elevator kept opening and closing and opening and closing. And we were like, we're expected upstairs, but here's the star and here's the director. We can't ask them, please go in. We can't walk ahead of them. All of us are observing protocol. So he's there talking with F. Gary Gray, and then turns to us and sees all of us waiting. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he moved out of the way, and we got into the elevator, and I was like, these guys are just humans. It's so usual and so normal. It was so cool. That was special because I got to be on a Hollywood set. I got to make quite a bit of money for 3 days of shooting.
How much are they paying for that? Like,
it was a SAG job, the Screen Actors Guild. How the whole thing about the Screen Actors Guild works is, Screen Actors Guild is a union. It's been established in the US to protect screen actors. And it was established back in the day when the studios were really taking advantage of actors, getting them into contracts where they would be like, we'll get 5 or 6 movies out of you and not pay you much money.
Yeah.
Or not give you breaks or that sort of thing. So SAG, Screen Actors Guild, was formed to protect actors. And SAG takes its rules very seriously. So, for instance, one rule is that any union job has to fulfill a certain quota of SAG actors in it before they can go for non-SAG actors. So a film like Law Abiding Citizen probably would have to hire on any given day, let's say 50 extras. And if you can't find 50 extras in Philadelphia who have their Screen Actors Guild cards, you have to find them from another city, a neighboring city. So SAG, then, because of the SAG rules, the producers of this movie have to go to a neighboring city, let's say New York, which is 2 hours away, DC, which is 3 hours away, and be like, there's a screen project that's shooting in Philly, and because they have not reached their quota, we're reaching out to actors here, and they'd have to put up those SAG actors in hotels just to fulfill the quota. Wow. It's not like there's non-union actors who can't do the work. We're there, but SAG has to protect its own. So they have to make sure that the circumstances under which non-union actors were hired was now dire. Like we've reached the quota and now we're hiring non-union. So I was non-union. I couldn't join the union because if I joined the union, then that means I couldn't act in non-union jobs. And to act in non-union jobs like student films means that's how you build your body of work.
Yeah.
So that's a sort of catch-22.
Yeah.
But you can still show up and act for 3 days on a SAG project.
And this was
after
one
that,
of those 3 days.
Yeah. So I needed my 3 days. If I wanted to join SAG now, I could. But of course I wouldn't because why? How? So I'm eligible to join SAG. And then you can actually put that on your resume and you say SAG eligible. So that just in case they're like, we like this dude, we're going to give you a role, it's going to be a speaking role, we'll sign the paperwork for you to join SAG then. And some lucky people get to do that, but it's very rare. It's very, very rare. So I ended up working for 3 days, and because I was being treated as someone who was a member of the union, there were lots of perks. If shooting goes above a certain time, you get paid something on top. If lunch gets delayed by a certain time, you get money on top of that. If you weren't given your 15-minute break after an hour of work, more money on top of that. If you're in a room where a smoke machine was running, more money on top of that. Were you filming outdoors in the winter, more money on top of that. That sort of thing. SAG really, and there's provisions for this, all those rules. So the base pay is $80 for 8 hours of work, but I ended up getting paid an average of $200 every day because lunch was delayed, or because we were filming outside, or because we were filming in a room. All these things, and I still have my vouchers somewhere. They're somewhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. And I was like, I get to see how it works on these gigs. Where what you're doing is just in the back, sitting,
observing, learning.
Observing, but also acting. So you're a background actor.
Yes,
so you have to be there, sitting at your computer, walking across the room, or you're being a background actor, or pretending to be like.
So do they teach you? Do they tell you, I want you to be typing here, and then you go here?
Yeah. One of the first or second assistant directors will tell you, please do this, please do that. The director is more concerned with the main action happening front. So it was, I don't think there's any opportunity that's wasted. I learned a lot from that. For instance, I learned that I don't want to be a SAG actor. Not when I can't call the shots over what job I want. Because I was hanging out with a lot of SAG actors who all their stories are about being a background actor on this film, being a background actor on this film, being a background actor on this film. Oh, that time I worked with Don Cheadle. Oh, that time I worked with Tom Cruise. By worked with, it means Tom Cruise was here. You were there.
And don't say a word.
Yeah, don't say a word.
Don't even give the long eye contact.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is even more specific. If Tom Cruise, like we had, for instance, Tom Cruise, do not try and look that dude in the eye. Do not. Because he's so intense and so focused. So if you're there like, Tom Cruise, and he meets your eyes and he gets distracted, and it's like, that dude distracted me, again, out. And then we learned about the various quirks, about various actors, and SAG background actors have lots of stories. Lots of stories that you'll get bored with quickly. One lady who was, one background actor got on a little role in Lady in the Water. And she was like, and that was really special for me because I ended up in the trailer. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was in the trailer. And I was like, oh cool, I'll go and watch the trailer for Lady in the Water and see where you ended up. Turns out all you see was her legs from the waist down, and it's blurry in the back, but she's the only human in the frame because they were focusing on something else. And I'm like, boss, that's the victory. That's what we're getting excited about. One other background actor talked about how she was on The Happening, which also shot in Philly. M. Night Shyamalan always shoots his films in Philly. So Lady in the Water, Philly. They're happening in Philly. And she talked about a certain scene where a lot of people were leaving town because they were afraid for their lives, and they were in an open field and nature seemed to be killing people, so they were in danger and the wind was blowing. And she talks about how she got to shoot for 3 or 4 days and she ended up being very clear and visible in the film. And I'm like, clear and visible? I don't want clear and visible. I want to act, man. I don't want to just be seen. So I was like, yeah, this is good, but if another SAG job comes by, I'm not sure. Because after you're SAG eligible, you can only work in SAG jobs so long. At one point, you're like, you can't be on another SAG job anymore. You have to register or not come to work again. So that was that. That was my experience on Law Abiding Citizen. But funny enough, the trailer came out a few months later. And I was watching it, and I'm like, hold up, go back, play. Hold up, that's me. And I ended up on the trailer, and soon I was like, yo, I was on the trailer. I became that dude. I was so excited. I'm on the trailer of Law Abiding Citizen. So I did end up in the film, but I end up on the very end of the screen. So depending on if you watch what orientation you watch the film in, I'll either not be in it or
you become that guy.
Yeah.
Depending. Okay, let me ask you. I had you mention Lupita. Okay, no, I didn't hear you mention. I'm asking you about Lupita.
Yes. What about her?
Did you have a convo? I mean, so first and foremost, just hearing that story about SAG and all of these things, for Lupita to make it to where she is,
Miracle.
Like
it's not even a miracle. It's for her to enjoy the sort of success that she has. And I'm talking about from the point of view of someone who knows how the industry works. It is hard. And I know it because she herself told me how hard it was for her to break in.